Hello, and thank you for joining us in the next installment of the EMA Webinar series. These webinars are your introduction to the EMA Fast Track training powered by the Hubbard Management System. Now, if you're watching this, you're a WISE member, and you recognize that you have your hands on the most powerful management technology on earth. But, you know, the results you get to it really depend on how well you use it, which depends on how well you know it, which depends on how well you studied it, which really breaks down to the way you apply the application and the theory of it. We are excited because every 2 weeks we get to speak with the most stellar names in WISE and find out how they actually applied Mr. Hubbard's tech and the theory of that technology to become the stellar examples that they are. So today we have Mr. Dan Brown. Dan Brown got involved with consulting using the Hubbard Management System in 1992, having found the ease of which to help business owners and their staff using this amazingly workable system and the resultant improvement in the lives of those people. Dan knew he had found his niche. Dan has since been to over 20 different countries using the Hubbard Management System, delivering to organizations of all types and sizes, and has presented workshops to over 8,000 people. Dan Brown, welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Margolin.
Nice to see you. Dan, so tell us a little bit. How did you first get introduced to Mr. Hubbard's technology, and what problem were you initially trying to solve? Was there a moment? Was there a specific policy that you read or something where you just went, like, I know it was like that for me, rewards and penalties, and I went, bam. Was there that moment for you?
You know, I don't think it was a particular policy. I think it was a particular client of that group, particular client that I had met in the early days, that they had been contacted. And I saw them months later at the group, and the individual told me about the changes that he had made in his life. And when I say this individual was going through things, think about every scenario you could in your mind is like, what could that be? And This person was probably about 7 out of 10 of those things. And this person was completely changed, marriage salvaged, his business was salvaged, everything. And it was that point that I knew, because I was there in the beginning to help that person make that initial step, that I had contributed to changing his life. But factually, it was Mr. Hubbard's technology that changed his life. And I was simply, you know, the person who carried the message to him. So I would say that would be the point.
That's awesome. That's awesome. What a powerful thing to actually, when you see it in front of yourself, you're not hearing about it secondhand. You're actually seeing it. Amazing, amazing. Correct. So we're going to talk a little bit today about marketing and some of the stable data regarding that for the new millennia. So before we do that, I just want to, Dan, from your perspective, right, how has marketing changed over the last decade?
Well, I would say vastly. I mean, I think we could look at it, probably best is to look at it as a consumer. You have a number of people who are watching this. They're in very different industries. And I'd say industry to industry, we would have to, you know, dissect that a little bit further to determine for their industry, how has it changed? But I think we can all relate from this question, how have we changed as consumers from now as compared to when we were consumers 10 years ago, 15 years ago, 20 years ago, and for, you know, old people like you and I, 30 years ago. And if you look at how we purchase today and how we find out about information, as opposed to how we found out about information in the past, that tells you a lot about probably one of your prime target public demographics. And I think we could talk about that a little bit. And I think that's something important that all WISE members, everybody in business, needs to really look and see these changes that are so significant that if your business hasn't caught up with these drastic differences of how we operate, then that's something, not the only thing, but it's something that needs to be changed.
Well, you know, it's funny. I wanted to buy a book. This guy, Dr. Stephen Gundry, wrote a diet book called The Diet Evolution. I went to the store and they didn't have the book. And I was a little bit like perturbed because I'm like, what do you mean? You know, you get used to the point where you're like Amazon, it's there and you get, you know, is that a little bit of it too? It's almost that speed of particle flow that you're expecting
Sure.
You know?
Well, let's take this as an example. Let's go, you know, I told you I was in car sales and I was a snot-nosed kid, 19 years old, and got into this very elite dealership in Fullerton, California, where my friend's father owned this top dealership. So there was a waiting list for salesmen to get into it. And I just bypassed that whole thing and got into car sales. And it was a significant point in my life because I really learned and understood what a car salesman was in the eyes of a consumer. I finally really understood where that came from. And, there were drugs all around me, criminality all around me, lies all around me. It was a horrible field for me to be in this elite dealership. But all that aside, car sales aside, I couldn't get out of that industry fast enough once I saw what it was. But all that aside, we all buy cars, we all drive cars. And most of your viewers can remember the time that they didn't have the internet or they didn't know how to use the internet and they were looking for a car. Mm-hmm. And if they can't remember that, they actually need to log out right now because they make me sick. They're far too young. But and if you can't remember, then let's mock it up. So in the earlier days, say, 15, 20 years ago, if an individual wanted to buy a car and they'd made that decision, it's time for me to get a new car. We'll call the sales cycle, we'll call that at 0%. They're at the very beginning. They're at start on the sales cycle. They haven't decided which one. They just know they need a new car. It's time for a new car. Call that 0%. And then they progress through the sales cycle. And at the end of that, when they sign, seal, and deliver that vehicle and the person is smiling and hopefully smiling and driving off, that would be 100%. So that's called a sales cycle, and I've just broken out into arbitrary percentages. The beginning at 0, the end at 100. Earlier, and this is by survey data, this isn't by me, but a study shows that a person would, at about somewhere between 8 and 12% through the sales cycle, show up to a dealership and have a face-to-face conversation or a phone conversation at about 8 to 12% through the sales cycle. So they're actually getting information from a representative of a company or the company that they've somewhat decided to look at first. And they're getting that information from that salesperson or that representative at about 8 to 12% through the sales cycle. If it was a good salesperson, that person would wrap it up right there and take them through and get a close. If not, they might bounce around to a couple different dealerships or a couple different salespeople, and then that would pretty much get wrapped out. If you take a look at what is that 8 to 12%, well, they were asking their friends. They've seen some different vehicles. They have a preference in mind. They read a magazine article, and that kind of warmed them up and took them up to about 8 to 12%. And then they talked to a person who was a representative of that store, that dealership, that brand, etc. At that point. That's significant data. Just remember that datum. It's a significant datum, 8 to 12% through the sales cycle before they talk to a person from that company or that brand or that whatever. Now, today, the first time somebody talks to or inquires with a company, talks to a representative of that company, or inquires directly to that company, do you know what the percentage is now that they're through the sales cycle? Do you know what percentage they are today?
I'm thinking 20, 30%. Mm-hmm. I'm probably far off on that.
Mm-hmm.
Far, wow.
88% through the sales.
Oh, wow. It reversed. It totally reversed.
Totally. And that figure is actually from the end of 2016. From the end of 2017, I'm certain that it's progressed a little bit beyond that, maybe 1 or 2%. So think about it. What you just said, you're used to Amazon. You're used to going on. I'm a major Amazon guy. I got an Amazon box right here. Just came. Amazon. I'm an Amazon addict. I'm an online addict, but I'm not like some major internet nerd or anything like that. I am just simply Joe Public. I go on, I look at broadly what I'm looking for, and you would probably parallel the same experience, right? You're looking for something you need to purchase or something you recently purchased. It's kind of significant, more than a few bucks. What was something that was somewhat significant for you more recently, or something that you need to purchase right now?
A car, actually. We were just looking at different cars and stuff. So I did a lot of research before, and before I went in.
Where did you do your research?
Internet. Just went different car this, car that, whatever.
Right. And you probably have a good idea of where you're going based off of your internet research, correct?
Sure. At least, I had whittled down to the type of car. I had it whittled down basically to the model, I was looking at. So sure. Yeah.
Right. And you can achieve all that without speaking to one person.
You're right. Absolutely. And you could do it relatively quickly. I mean, it wasn't like a long time. Even
on a car today, you could do it without even talking to a salesperson.
Yeah.
You can actually just order a car and it's a done deal. Never talk to a sales representative.
Yeah.
But you have to at some point you have to get to the representative of that company or that person's website or whatever. My point in all this and saying this to you is that the consumer today, and that's me and you included, not just the millennial or the generation in front of the millennial, it's you and I included. We have developed into a consumer professional level that is so significant that we sometimes arrive to that representative, whether it's Best Buy for our 65-inch flat screen or the dealership or whatever. And we are telling that person things that person themselves doesn't even know. They couldn't know. They couldn't know down to these details. Well, how many HDMI ports does this 65-inch have? And does it have two audio out? And the guy's like, I don't know, man. Let's break open the box or something or go look at the thing. How could he? He's got, thousands of products. And we have achieved that knowledge because we're savvy. We use information. Where did we get that information? We've answered it. It's the internet. When did we get that information? Well, today, because a lot of people are not necessarily financially bankrupt, but they are time bankrupt. This person is comfortably doing so in their bathrobe with a tub of Haagen-Dazs ice cream at 11:30 at night. They've gotten home from work. They've picked up the kids. They've made dinner. They've had dinner. They put the kids to bed. They had, their 20 minutes of, fluff off time where they got to experience themselves. And it's the end of the night. And that's the time that they have to burn. And nothing's open at that time. And they don't want to talk to anybody. Now, I'm bringing all this up just to make one point. If somebody is arriving to a decision about a significant purchase, they're doing so and carrying themselves through 90% of the sales cycle. And they're finding about your business's product, your business's service, specifically you. So if they're doing that on their own, ask yourself this question. How's your online presence?
I mean, it would have to be, because as you're saying that, I'm thinking, well, they've done most of the work, right? So it's almost like you need your online presence to just easily bring them in, right? It's almost, you just don't want to, because they've almost gone through the obstacles before they've gotten to you, right? So that's almost it is a different perspective on how easy the access should be through your online presence. Is that correct?
It's correct. And now I wouldn't say I'm a master at this technology, but I've certainly been highly exposed for a very long time to this technology. And, you won't find Mr. Hubbard talking about the internet, but you will find him talking about key marketing basics and sales basics and organization basics. And if you're going to look at organizing your business and managing your business and administrating your business, you've got to set it up from a marketing perspective. Marketing starts far beyond the time somebody walks in your door because you have created that. Right. And that's part of the sales cycle. Part of the sales cycles is preceded by PR marketing. And if somebody's looking for a datum about you, like, okay, good. I feel pretty comfortable that I know that I need this procedure. Now, and I've heard from a friend that Dr. Margolin is the person to go to. But now, what might I do if I really want to know for sure that you're my doctor? What might I do? Without calling your office, without talking to you, what might I do?
You look for reviews, I guess, online reviews would be the big thing, right?
Spot on. And in those reviews, they need to relate very real stories. And then I go, okay, good, I'm comfortable with these reviews. Mm-hmm. Now, how many reviews do I need to see? Do you know, roughly?
How many reviews would you need? I have no idea. I would say 50, but I mean, I would say you probably have to read about 3 or 4, but you'd probably have to see that there were 50 on there.
Bingo. You nailed it on the head. It's got to be 40, 50 plus. And do you know how many stars that it should be?
I would think 4 and above.
Yeah. So it's about 4.3, 4.4 and above. What if it's all 5-star? Do you know what that does to a public?
They're not going to believe it. I bet you they don't believe it.
Yeah,
Wow.
they think they're bot reviews. And these are, like, what does this have to do with anything? It has everything to do with everything. Because this is your presence. This is what they're looking at prior to talking to you and giving your company a chance to earn their business. This is happening long before they get to you. Now they get to your website, they're going to check things out. They have, how many seconds do you think that a person will give your website before they make a judgment? They're either in the right place or they're not. Do you know how many seconds they give you on average?
You're going to shock me with this. I'm thinking, personally, I'm thinking 20 seconds, but I bet you say it's less than that.
5 seconds.
Wow.
5 seconds. But now that's by survey. Some faster, some slower. Some faster, some slower. Some faster than 5 seconds.
Faster than 5 seconds. Wow.
So what's the importance of online presence? What's the importance of you having the content quickly right there on your homepage and with the right message? That's vital. It's vital. LRH talks about this is in the marketing series 8, more on marketing basics. He says, from the moment a product is conceived, much less produced, marketing has to be in there with surveys to establish the design and use of the product. And it carries on through at every stage to make sure that it will eventually sell and get good word of mouth promotion. Advertising enters into it. The basis of advertising is you have to attract, you have to interest, and you have to get your message across in that sequence. Now, attract, you have to interest, and you have to get your message across in that sequence. So now, attract. How commercialized is Joe Public today? How many commercial messages does Joe Public get a day?
Oh, they're inundated with them.
Inundated. And if we look, again, compared to 30 years ago, 20 years ago, what does he have with him full time more than anything else?
His iPhone.
His phone.
Yeah.
His phone. And on his phone, he's on Facebook, where roughly about every 7 to 10 posts is an ad. Not to mention what's going down along the banners. When he searches Google, everything's an ad. There's what's called remarketing. So that's when you visit a site, you go, oh, I need a new mattress, and you visit this mattress store. And then you're going and you're surfing other things, and mattress ads are coming up down the left and right sides of your screen. That's called remarketing. So you're being hit with so many messages today. Check this data out. You're not going to believe this. When you, in an average city, you drive to work. How many miles do you drive?
I actually have a little bit of a ride, so it's about 40 miles.
40 miles. Okay, good. So more 40 miles. There is a limit of how many billboards, and these are proper billboards, like a full-size billboard. There's a limit so that you don't get too much visual pollution. And they had to exercise this limit because every city in the United States pushes this boundary. So guess how many billboards you pass every mile? And I could almost guarantee that it's, unless you're in a rural area, I could almost guarantee that if it's in a city area.
In New York, New Jersey, I would say how many billboards, like, depends on the roads, but on average, you're looking at 7, 8, something like that.
Yeah, the law mandates it, and it's pushed to, the law mandates it, it's 33 every mile.
Wow.
You don't see it because you have attenuated your attention. You have toned down, you've turned down
It's so
analytical. True. And you know, when a commercial comes on, you know, you'll switch a station. You know, we have become professional consumers, professional. So if your website, if your online presence, if your business does not hit me between the eyes with attract, interest, and get my message across. If you don't hit that first one, attract. If you don't catch that, man, I've turned down my volume and it goes right by me.
Yep.
That's what I mean by how has the consumer changed between.
And Dan, let me just on this point, right? So one of the things we did very effectively is we would go to the malls and we would set up booths like for screenings and stuff like that. And what I found, we went to very high-end malls and set up very high-end displays, and they bombed. Okay, but when we went to malls and we set up very low-end looking displays, they kicked tush. And it was just funny because, you know what I mean? When it was high-end, it blended. And when it wasn't quite so high-end, which, was shocking to me. It was actually shocking to me. So it was attract, but I think when people think of attract, they're always thinking, let's get nicer, 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 where it's just almost a survey of what is attraction to the individual, right? Is that? Yeah.
It is. And I can tell you, I do website reviews for all our clients, and I'll do an online analysis. It takes me about 30 minutes. And they've just spent 15 grand on their new website and this whole, search engine optimization campaign and this and that. And I'd say, it's beautiful. It's very aesthetic. And that was certainly important in 1998. That was certainly important 12 years ago to have an aesthetic website. Today, it's just totally different. We are so in tune as consumers and we have so little time that we just don't give people an opportunity to waste our time. And we will take that opportunity away from you as a business right now and waste all your money. When you're spending, $10 to $12 on Google AdWords for every time somebody clicks, where are they going? What's that landing page look like? These are things that a business has to know. And I don't want to overwhelm anybody, but I just want people to understand this. So now when they get to your website, so I have some basics that I tell people, and I can cover that with you now if you think.
Yeah, please. That would be great. Please.
Okay. So if you have less than 5 seconds and you want to get a message across, so you need to attract, you have to interest, and you have to get your message across, and you got to do so with a consumer that's like this today. Comparative, huh? The first TV commercials that happened back when TV was first released was a refrigerator. Guess how long the commercial was?
How long the commercial? 5 minutes.
5 minutes. That's exactly right.
Stop.
And when you close the door,
I'm doing pretty good with these numbers.
Nailed it. 5 minutes. 5 minutes. And everybody's like, wow, look at that. And the light goes off when you close the, people were like mesmerized. Today, just the opposite. So you got 5 seconds. So how do you do that in 5 seconds? How do you get your message across? What's the easiest way to do it? 200 words of text?
It's got to be a picture, I would imagine.
It's got to be a picture.
Yeah.
It's got to be a picture. And what's the easiest, now for you as a podiatrist, I deal with a lot of dentists and such, and a lot of people can relate. So somebody's coming to your business and they want to know, can you solve my pain? And I'm not just talking about you from a doctor, from a physical pain.
Right.
If I'm looking for, I just bought these new LED lights for uplighters in my garden outside. Okay. And I need like 20 of these things. And they're like $80 each. So I'm not going to just, so I did all my homework and stuff. I have a pain. The cost, is it going to last? What are the reviews? I've got these various pain points, but mine is I've got a volume issue here. I've got a volume issue, and I've got to have that communicated to very quickly, and it's got to fit my wife's aesthetics. She wants the warm white, not the cool white. All this now, all these different things need to communicate when I get to your landing page. Your landing page, if that's your website homepage, or if it's a designated page from an AdWord campaign or a Facebook campaign, that's got to communicate to me right now with a photo. For you, it's a before and after.
Okay.
It's before and after. And some of these, especially with the industry that you're in, you've got to gauge that because you can't put too gnarly of a photo for a before.
Right.
And in dentistry, we've got these regulations that also require, we've got to get a release signed by our patients and such. So, but I'll use dentistry because it's an easy one. Guy comes to a dental website for only a number of reasons. He's got a missing tooth, a cracked tooth, a chipped tooth, a dental emergency. He wants a free second opinion. His teeth are crooked. His teeth are stained. Pretty much it. And our clients, I'll tell them, I say, you better have a button. And it has a before and after picture, missing tooth, before and after, click here. Cracked tooth, broken tooth, before, after. And when they go there, it goes to a whole other landing page of 10 more examples, just like the one they clicked on. So they go, oh, there's my mouth right there. That's the one. That's me. You see, fast. There's calls to action all around. And there's also pull quotes, little quotes that are pulled from success stories, hitting the major buttons that, because you go to the dentist. Do you like going to the dentist?
No.
No. There's like 1 out of 100 people that like going to the dentist. Real weirdos, freaks, and most of us say, it's the last place we want to go. It's certainly the last place we want to spend money.
Right.
You've got to hit on their buttons. What are their buttons? Well, they're scared of the dentist, pain. They don't like a corporate feel. They like a family feel. So you got to know these things, and you've got to hit those points in these little quotes saying, this is who we are. And do they want to listen to you, Dr. Margolin, or do they want to listen to your patients?
They're not going to believe you. They want to listen to the patients.
Yeah, they don't want to hear. They do want to hear what you have to say, but long after they've listened to what your patients have to say, and ask yourself this question: do you have some nice 30-second to 90-second videos of your patients giving a nice video attest, saying, I came to Dr. Margolin. I think I had a few choices and such, but I heard so many great things about it. Practice is amazing. I just feel like I'm a friend of the family. It's very warm, no pain. They really followed up, hitting every button. And people, when I bring this up to people, they say, but I need a video crew and I say, no, listen, video is like pizza, man. It's like pizza. Even when it's bad, it's good. This right here, this is a perfect video camera. Yeah. You hold it up, say, okay, good. I'm going to ask you some questions. If the person gets nervous when they look into the camera, you say, well, I'm going to hold this in like interview format. I'm going to hold it over here like this, and you talk to me, and I'm just going to hold the phone pointed at you or have somebody else pointed at you and ask them some questions and chop it up and then post it. You do that 15, 20 times. You've got, all the video tests you need for your website on all the different pain points that somebody could come to your business. This is what people are doing at 11:30 at night with that tub of Haagen-Dazs, in their bathrobe. And,
No, it makes sense. So it makes sense. You want to hear somebody like yourself talking about the objections that you would have and actually handling it. So that is a brilliant idea, because then by the time they do get you, the 88% of the work is done. And they're not only sold on the fact that they need to go to somebody like you, but they need to go to you.
Sold on you. Yeah.
That's right.
Perfect. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. Yeah. That's amazing. So, and just one thing. So when you're saying, like, when they go there, in terms of video testimonials, on average, how many would you need to convince somebody? Like, how many would they see? 3, 2, 5? Like, what would be the average? Do you know?
That's a great question. Here's the better answer, rather than the specific on that one, because that's like, how long is a piece of string? There's an infinite number of answers based off different scenarios, industries, companies. When you go to Amazon and you're buying a shaving mirror, you're going to go and you're going to look in the reviews. Everybody goes and looks in the reviews. That's what you do. And you see 5 reviews. 4 of them are good, 1 not. What do you think about that?
Not a lot of reviews. You're thinking
not a lot of reviews.
Yeah.
Right. Now you go and you see there's 1,742 reviews, 4.5 stars. Pretty much right there. Mm-hmm. It's a done deal. You're already like, okay, good. And you know what everybody's going to do, especially those people below 2.0 on the tone scale, they're going to go immediately to the lower reviews. And it's a good time. It's a good point at that point to have a couple people that have done a couple reviews saying this isn't, wasn't, I hate the pain. This is not what I like. I hate going to get my body worked on, but at least these guys did a great job, but I just hate podiatry. That would be the best case scenario for a low review, right? But for a shaving mirror, you're going to get the guy's going to go through a couple things, but in Amazon at the top, they always put videos. They always put videos. And they put photos, customer photos and customer videos. And you doing the same and hosting your videos on YouTube rather than on your own website is a key point. It's a key point here. Secret, trade secret.
Oh, I'm getting my pen. Go.
Okay. Okay, who owns YouTube?
Google.
Right. So you host your videos on YouTube, and your website has what you embed it on your website. Embed it. It means that basically you're putting a space on your website. Your web designer will know what to do. And they basically channeling the YouTube feed onto that window. Okay. Now what you've just done is you've created what's called a backlink. It's a backlink. It's linked to to YouTube.
Right.
Okay. And that increases your search engine optimization.
Oh,
okay. More backlinks. You want to have backlinks. People that say, yeah, that's right. That's a place to go. That's the guy to talk to on this subject.
Okay.
And a backlink from YouTube is super strong because it's by Google. So Google is going to give you more elevation, organic elevation on search engine optimization basis.
Okay.
So, but having these things, it's now available on YouTube. It's now available on your website, and it's available generally in the web. So when somebody wants to search these things, you can actually take these videos and create SEO right in the YouTube video. And you could do it. I could do it. It's not like it takes some genius. There's actually keywords you can put down on the video. So when somebody says, I've got this and this and this, they put in these keywords, your video might just come up.
So you're saying, so when you load your YouTube, it's going to ask you what keywords are going to be on there. So you load on the keywords. So not only are you getting people going through your website, but there are people that would be search engineering the YouTube, and it would be given another way. Oh, that's great. Plus, I would imagine it would also, on your website, it'll show a larger number when people are saying, well, how many people have actually observed this video? It's going to look more impressive when you see that, instead of 3 people looked at the video, 100 people looked at the video or something like that.
Sure. The mere fact that it's there is a big deal. Then it's optimized is a better deal. When it gets seen, then YouTube is constantly checking these things. And it says, hey, listen, people are watching this thing. And they're watching it via his website. Hey, and some are even watching it independent of that. And it will boost its ability to be found when being searched, and it boosts your site. So these are just some of the things. I'm not a web designer. I'm not a search engine optimizer. I work with companies and I tell them what to do and they tell me what to do. And this is how I've been exposed to it. I had to learn this at such a depth and such a level, and it's still cursory. It's not at all technical, but I had to learn this at such a level just because I had to understand when somebody says, I need marketing help. Man, my answers are way different than they were 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, well, Dan, to this point, let's just look at this for 1 second. Let's stick with this area. So what about the reverse scenario where you've had some bad reviews on, right? How do you handle that? Where maybe you have 10 reviews and 3 of them are negative for whatever reason. How would you handle something like that?
It's great question. So when you get negative reviews, there's just nothing you can do about it except for 2 things. 1, respond positively, but generally and briefly. You never get into a pissing contest. You never oppose the person. You never do that. You never say, listen, I don't know who you are. You've never been to my shop. You never do. You can say certain things, and I have a whole list of do's and don'ts on this.
Okay.
Almost subject for an entire other webinar. I mean, These basics are so important, but you respond and you say, listen, I really appreciate you taking the time to give this review. I don't have on file that you're a customer of that name, but perhaps you're using a different one. That said, please reach out to me and contact me. Here's my telephone number or my email address. I want to take this up with you personally. And it just shows that you're present. That's all. You're not refuting it. You're not admitting it. You're being, this is certainly a surprise to me. And this is not an experience that I'll ever let go. So please reach out to me personally. I'm the owner. And people go, wow, look at this. This guy's right there for his peeps. So that's one thing. The next thing is you've just got to get a ton of reviews. A negative review isn't the end of the world, but it's the end of the world, man. If that
it's the only one.
If it's the only one, or if it's one of 10. And how to get reviews. I have a whole program on how to get reviews and get your customers, because customers don't want to stop and give you positive reviews. But man, you'll get that 20% of, the nutters, the guys that just have nothing else to do in life but to make people's lives miserable. They'll find all sorts of time. And so, a good friend of mine gave this analogy. He says, it's kind of like peeing in the pool. You're never going to get it out. So you just got to put so much clean water in there that it just kind of washes away. And it's so true. You can't do anything about it. The wrong thing to do is introvert about it and listen and sit there and go, oh my gosh, and put a lot of time on it, that you're going to have 20% of the people that you get business from are people you need to find out about quickly and have them move on. They're not the fit for your business. So, that's its own skill set. You and I both are well aware of that. Sure. And you're never going to please these people. You've got the 20. Yeah.
How important, like one of the solutions that we've found to that is, when you, and this isn't exactly how we did it, but, when you walk into the office and it says, hey, like us on Facebook or something like that, and we'll give you free Starbucks coffee or something. Are those programs effective where it's just
They are. And especially when you say, listen, it's going to be a drawing and, like us there, and we're going to enter you in a drawing and, give us a review and we'll give you a Starbucks review and enter you into a Starbucks card for $5. And it's like, we're not asking for a positive review. We're just asking for an honest review. And we're going to go ahead and give you, or we're going to put you into a contest for a drawing for, this $100 or $200 thing. For dentists, we say these great Oral-B toothbrushes, automatic toothbrushes. It's got like Bluetooth and tells you if you're like, getting your teeth enough, whatever. But, people spend $300 on these toothbrushes. These dentists pick them up for, their cost on them is $70. So they offer that as a giveaway every week or two or however often month, and say, listen, put that in here. And then you highlight the person who got the gift on Facebook and you honor them for it, or, or whatever. There's different things you can do, but people definitely jump on that.
It's a great opportunity to be for relatively inexpensive advertising. It seems like that, what I mean? If you just turn the viewpoint, it's a little bit daunting if you've never really gone into it or you haven't really understood all the terminology and stuff. That's a little bit of the scary part, right? So, what would you say to somebody right now that's watching this that, they've dabbled in it a little bit, right? But they're now recognizing from what we've been talking about the importance of really having a social media presence. How would they start? What would you recommend?
Great. It's a fantastic question. It's like the best question. So here's what we tell people. First thing, website. And you get a proper marketing site, not an information site. And if you want to know the difference, an information site is a site that answers everybody's questions and tries to keep people from calling in. If you want to see a great information site, go to irs.gov. That's a great information site. They don't want to talk to you and you don't want to talk to them. I mean, it's a mutual feeling. That's one. Another great information site is dmv.org.
Yes.
Department of Motor Vehicles. Again, they don't want to talk to you and you don't want to talk to them. All the data is right there. That's an information site. That is not what you want. You want a marketing site. A marketing site has a quick ability to communicate these 3 points here, attract, interest, and get your message across. It has calls to action, CTAs, calls to action. It has successes. It has success videos. It doesn't have terminology that drowns your public or disassociates your public from you through a misunderstood word. Because we know what happens when the public gets a word that they don't understand. And I see this dilated all the time. People are discussing, we have this and we have that, we have this. Well, listen, you have 9 or 19 or 90 different reasons that somebody comes to your website, different publics. Are you really going to expose all of the other 88 or 8 to misunderstood on things they don't want to know about because they just came for this? So instead of highlighting solutions, you highlight the problems. Are you here for this problem or this problem or this problem or this problem? Oh, I'm here for this problem. So you communicate to somebody on problems. That's a marketing site. You're working with the individual. Say, listen, I'm here to save you time. I'm going to make this experience as fast and easy as possible for you. And I'm going to show you in the right place. So just tell me, which of these public are you? Do you have this pain, this pain, this pain, this pain, this pain, this pain, or this pain? Oh, I have that pain. Great. On this, do you have these or these? Oh, I have those. Great. Quick. That's a marketing site. When they get to the area of like, oh, now I'm in the area, little bit of text, lots of photos, some videos. And as you scrolling down means you've got the person. Okay. Even when somebody gets to your site, 80% of the people that get to your site won't scroll down unless they're intrigued by the content immediately. I see these people that have these beautiful sites with a big logo and a stock photo of this person. And again, that was great in 2004. This is not 2004. That person right then needs to know, am I in the right place or the wrong place? This is not the place to put technical terms. This is not the place to put misunderstood words. This is the time to find out who your public is and what's their pain point. And so you got that pain or that pain? Quick, that pain or that pain?
What about the concept of drawing them in with a mystery? How does that fit in? Is there any of that in there? Like if you're answering their question completely, does that stop their reach or?
Yes. So here is where that plays. First, you're establishing, are they in the right place? And they're establishing, yes, I'm in the right place. Great, we can help you with this. Here's what you need to do. Bang, bang, bang. And you're not telling them what they need to do. You're not telling them, listen, here's how you handle your ingrown toenail. You're saying, here's what you do. You're in the right place. We understand that it's a painful process. We understand that you have questions about insurance. We understand that you don't know and you're not about to self-diagnose, but you do have the following symptoms. Contact us immediately. We're going to ask you some questions to help tell you how easy it is to solve this, because it's probably easier than you think. That's a call to action, but it's a mystery sandwich. You haven't told them. You got them on the hook. You're saying, wow, geez, that is me. And I would like this handled quickly, easily, without pain. And I would like to see if my insurance could optimize this. Yeah, he's hit all my buttons. I'm going to call. So I've used a mystery sandwich about I haven't told you what we're going to talk to you about when you phone us, but yeah, I've told you that you got this, you got these concerns. Good, call us, because that's if you do, that's exactly who we specialize in dealing with.
Then you might have answered this already, but what's the one biggest mistake when you have a client that says, "Hey, look at my website"? What's the one biggest mistake? The one god-awful mistake you see? Text,
just tons of text. It's all text. They think that, it's 1970 and 64 and 53 again, when people read. People don't. They don't
read. You think they're better off? You're better off doing a video with that, or just cutting the text?
Not in the first page, because again, somebody's not going to spend more than 5 seconds. So you got to hit them with a photo, and you got to draw them in. The videos on your landing page.
Okay.
And it's halfway down. And then you're adding text and adding significance and adding more data about the solution down your landing page. The home page is just to capture them and find out, hey, are you in the right place and are you my public? So there's lots to talk about on this, but I'd like to hear from the viewership if this is interesting or important. It's certainly to you and I, but so you asked me, what are the key things? So website, that's the first thing, and get a proper one, a marketing site, not an information site, and it's optimized. Next is you got to have some social media presence, and that would be have a business page in Facebook. Depends on your public, but if it's Instagram, maybe for some, maybe not for others. People, I don't suggest get involved with these like Instagram and Twitter and stuff. Man, you got to be really committed if you're going to go into those.
Okay.
But Facebook is pretty much standard, and you can advertise on Facebook. And then once you've got a business page in Facebook, then consider an advertising or marketing campaign using Facebook, piloting it on there, and then maybe moving it into an AdWord campaign with Google. Again, I sound like I'm some professional. I sound like I'm selling web services, and I don't. I just don't. But if you haven't got that there, and you're asking me to help you figure out how to now inspect your sales line, and how to now inspect your marketing line, and now inspect your particle flow line, which that's what I specialize in.
Right.
We got to start outside the front door. And I just found that totally fascinating. So that's what I wanted to talk to you about and the viewers. And if this is of interest, then we can talk more about it. If we're like, okay, now we're done with that. Now let's talk about the next step. How do we convert people? Like, do you have a conversion log on your reception? Is there a log that maps every single person? And how is that person answering the call? And you know what, Dan, I think we should do some mystery calls. We should actually do some mystery calls in a future web. Again, if the viewers want to do it, but we'll call up some random businesses and we'll then do a little analysis on that. But man, somebody calls into your shop. It's got to sound like this. Hi, business. This is Dan. How can I help you? Yeah, I'd like to find out how much it's going to cost for you to handle my, ingrown toenails. Fantastic. I'd love to answer that question for you. Great. And your first name? Great, Becky. And your last name? Great. And I have showing up on my caller ID, blah, 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 just in case I lose a call. Is that the best number to reach you? Great. And Becky, just before I answer that question, how did you find out about us?
Wow.
Oh, that's great. Can I ask you what you searched? Fantastic. Great. Good. Did you hear about us through a friend or anything else? Good. I appreciate that data. Thank you. Good. So now let's get on to your question. Now, what did I just do?
I mean, it's wonderful because what you did is you actually got information that's so vital for the practice. And I see it violated because I think what you just said is so important because the importance of it is often lost on the front desk. They're busy. People are coming in. Things are going on. But unless you really, absolutely, unless you really, and I've seen it myself where we don't always get the data that we need to know, like, hey, is this campaign successful? How successful? Should I put more money into that? Should I not? Yeah. But by doing what you just said, it blows the lid off of that. And you, as the owner of the business, as the head of the PR division, whatever, you now know where you're going to put your money. I love it. I love that approach.
Yeah, and this is a really interesting exercise. Take every collective dollar that you spend on marketing every month, and that's got to include everything: your AdWord campaign, your website management. You know, collectively, if you spent 15 grand on a new website or 5 grand on a new website, and that was just a year ago, amortize it over those months and such, and get a monthly figure. What is that monthly figure that you're spending on marketing? And say that's 5 grand, 10 grand, 15, 20 grand, 100 grand, whatever that is, $2,000. Find out how many new customers you're getting and divide the number of new customers in that marketing spend. And that's your acquisition cost. So if you're spending 10 grand a month and you're getting 20 new customers, 20 new patients, whatever, what's your acquisition cost?
$200. Is that right?
I think it's 500.
No, 500. I'm sorry.
If it's 10,000 and you're getting, 20, if it's, 10,000 and it's 50, it's $200. So that's what it's costing you, man. If you can't have in a second an exact index of how many people are calling in and then some post-populated fields beyond these that I said. So as the call is happening, the receptionist is filling in. Okay, good. It's about ingrown toenails. Great. They heard about this. Good. Did that person appoint? Yes or no? No. Yes. Great. Did that person arrive for their appointment? Yes or no? Yes. Great. When that person arrived, did I lose you? Okay. When that person arrived, how much did that person spend? And that's your value. And these are all fields that have to be in that log right at reception. And it has to be right in view because that's telling you about your campaign. Is it working? Is it getting you the kind of public you need? And if you don't have that data, you're blind. You're blind. And you're glib.
Now I have a question for you though. Yeah. When you go out to somebody new that's starting with you, right? Or you go, what percentage of people have anything even close to that?
Yeah, you don't want to
low, right?
answer that question. It's low.
It's got to be low. It's got to because it's one area that I think it's so important that even for this webinar, I just think that people listening to this should really take a big marker and mark this with an X on a piece of paper and make sure this is in because it's just honestly having done consulting and everything for over 20 years, it's almost impossible to get this in because the relevance and the importance of it is just something that's not appreciated. And I so appreciate you bringing this up because I really think that if people watch this and get nothing else out of this webinar, there's a lot to get out of it, but this one thing will absolutely change their world. Right? Am I right on that? I mean, it's just the real importance of this.
Spot on. And the guys that I do find that do it, they dominate on marketing because there's nothing mystical about it. There's nothing magical about it. It's just science of numbers. And now you can do, when you hear about A/B testing in a marketing campaign, you've done a version A of this ad and you've done a version B and you see what response. Well, how can you do that if you don't track the response? And you I think we did pretty good this month. Yeah, it feels pretty good to me. I made a really strong postulate. This is going to be a good month. Okay, good. Snap out of it. Come out of glibidity. So, we have just talked about getting to the receptionist. Now we'll do this, we'll do some mystery calls and we'll find out, what's being said. And then reception, you said it, man, you nailed it. reception, it's such a vital position. And I find people say, well, listen, I'll just get a receptionist, they're a dime a dozen. I'm sorry, what? After all you've just spent on your website, your marketing, and then you get some ninny on the front who, it might be a great person, but man, she cannot handle flow. And, okay, good. So what's the minimum IQ of a receptionist? What's the minimum IQ? If you can't answer that question, what are you doing as an administrator, man?
Right.
If you haven't got somebody up there that's 120 plus IQ, 60 plus aptitude, you're sinking your ship. Might be a great person, but if you haven't thought about that and you haven't gone, well, I don't have the PPA from, Master Tech, okay, but we'll look at each one of these points, and that's before we get into what I really do, which is take the lines and sort them out. And again, I do these with people that don't know the system, and but I certainly do any of this for any wise member because it's that important.
Wow. That is greatly appreciated.
Yeah.
Dan Brown. Well, we're starting to wind down a little bit here, but first of all, how people that want to get in touch with you, that actually would like to take you up on any of those offers, how would they do so?
Best would be to send me an email, and it's dan.robert.brown@gmail.com. So dan.robert.brown@gmail.com. Be more than happy to send anybody tips. I'd send samples of analyses that I've done, and I'll genericize it so I'm not exposing anybody, but just things. I'm not going to charge anybody consulting. I don't do that for our group, but I'll certainly give tips and advice. And then we go to conventions and we talk about these things. I would love to hear back what people want to know more of, because here I am, talking out of my rear end. I don't know if this is important to people. And if it is, I'd like to know. And if they'd like to know about other things, I'd certainly be happy to address, because this is my group. This is the group I like to work with and help.
Dan, you are awesome. We'd love to actually have you back to do some more seminars. Before I close out, is there anything that we didn't cover that you wanted to go over? Anything that you think is important before we close down? We're definitely going to have you back on.
Yeah, I think there's a bunch of statistics about social media that are vital. I would say these would be the principal ones. 80% of people are going to check reviews and your online presence before they pick up the phone and speak to you. So just do your own search. And then search your competition. Do the same search and look at the top people that come up and search your competition. See what you got. See what they look like. You might be inspired. You might be relieved. You might see that they're, you might go, gosh, I'm really doing a lot of things wrong, or I'm not doing things I should be. And you'll find that others are doing it worse. And that's a good thing to know. It's your competition.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you might be inspired by them to be implementing some things that we've talked about. And I think that's a good step too. So I want to bring that up. I've got a bunch of other statistics from an online social marketing perspective, things that are interesting, just data, average time for a video, YouTube, and all these things. But we'll take this up if this is of interest for your viewers in another time.
Awesome. Well, after this, they're going to fill out a survey, and we ask them to just let us know what's important to them. We'll definitely gear it up to that, and we really appreciate you being on the show. So, all right, that brings us to another close of a Fast Track Training webinar. I hope you enjoyed it. More importantly, I hope you got some fundamentals out of it that you can use to actually take your business, your practice to the next level. And one day I'd love to have you on our show. Now, the next grading of the Fast Track Training is the EMA video modules. These are short videos designed to train your staff, yourself, and really take them and turn them into your team. So which of those you would need, we can actually figure out for you. If you like, we do a free business analysis. You can just shoot me an email at dan@effectivemanagement.net. Let us know that would interest